On this episode, we're going to be talking about how to overcome fear and anxiety.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Louise Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all. Do you have a product or service that you would like to sell online? Or maybe you've been thinking about it, but you're reserved to do it because you need a website, you need complicated systems, and you need to spend money? Well, I've created a completely free course that teaches you how to use Facebook in a purely organic way. This means no ads and no money are needed. You can use Facebook completely free. So head on over to thrivinglaunch.com, opt into my Profit from Social Media course. I'm going to teach you the free methods to using Facebook to make money today.
We're here with Leah Guy. She is a media personality, an author, and a spiritual teacher.
All right, Thriving Launchers, let's talk about fear and anxiety. And we have Leah here. Are you ready to launch, Leah?
Of course.
Let's do it. So, fear, anxiety, I think when I say those words, I think of some of the most crippling emotions, like just sensations that we can experience in our body, and it can really stop us from having the love we want, having the money we want, asking for the things that we desire, and really being powerful. And yet all of us have experienced these feelings, and sometimes we don't get over them. Is there a recipe? Is there a way to kind of overcome these kind of crippling feelings?
Well, yeah, there's certainly ways to overcome them, but there's no recipe. And that's the thing is people try to diagnose themselves with anxiety or fear disorders or what have you. But really, the understanding and the shift happens when we realize that those are just symptoms and they're not the problem. So we have to treat it like a symptom, and it's a sign telling us that something is out of balance and not right in our life.
Absolutely. And what do you feel are the most predominant factors that lead to fear and anxiety, and why is it so prevalent in our current society?
Well, I feel like it's so prevalent because so many people are avoiding and trying to detach from their reality, from their emotional wellness, from their state of being. And I mean, it runs the whole gamut, and it becomes overwhelming. I could sit here and give you a laundry list of things that cause the imbalances in a person, but even, nutritionally speaking, we don't want to do what it takes to be balanced and healthy nutritionally. Some people do, but a lot of us don't. And the same is true with our emotions and with our mind. And we kind of just get out of control with really owning and dealing with our feelings, our experiences, our traumas, our suffering, our happiness, our everything. And so before you know it, we get blocked energy, we get stagnant in our life. We put things in front of us and things become overwhelming, and then we are crippled and we can't move. So a person really has to be willing to do their work and to, acknowledge, and first step, acknowledge and become aware of what is uncomfortable in their life, what's not right, what hasn't been right, and work through and process the feelings of that.
What is it that inspires you the most to talk about when it comes to fear and anxiety? What's your unique approach to it?
Well, I think in that my approach is that fear is one of our greatest teachers, and we can use it to our benefit. But the approach that I take in the healing work is really about connection and responsibility, as opposed to detachment and trying to let go of things. That seems to be the big buzzword this past decade or so, and it's really causing a lot more anxiety and separation than it's causing healing and wellness. So I think that that's my biggest approach, and my book is kind of based on that theory as well.
So the first step is identifying that you have a problem or that you're feeling this fear and anxiety. Then what do you do? Like, what's kind of the beginning process of working with that?
Well, I mean, it depends on what it's stemming from, but it's not just identifying that I have anxiety. A lot of people can identify, oh, I have anxiety, but it's identifying what's truly going on within yourself. If I've had a trauma or an upset or a loss or, was raised feeling shamed and out of sorts and not good enough and this kind of thing. If I'm making excuses for people or blaming other people or just denying my true, authentic feelings, that I'm going to get stuck behind some kind of emotion that often comes out as fear and anxiety. So, yeah, we have to recognize that I have this, but then the next thing to do is be willing to go within and, do kind of investigative work to recognize what's going on inside of ourselves and then take the steps to try to, to work with that. And that's what the healing process is. It's not just, taking a drug or saying, oh, I have this disorder, or, oh, everybody has anxiety. Let me see how just to manage the anxiety. We want to learn how to manage the emotion or the imbalance of what's going on underneath the anxiety. And then we have a chance at healing it and changing it.
I used to have panic attacks, and I feel like my journey with overcoming those panic attacks, it had a lot to do with backing away from the triggers, backing away from the stressors and the anxiety, and making sure that I'm self-sourced and giving myself that time and that space to recenter and not keep pushing through the anxiety to try to get to the other side. There was no
Mm-hmm.
pushing through. If I pushed through, I would just hit a wall of panic. And I just want to hear from you. What would you say to someone who's in that position where they're coming up against a lot of anxiety? The next time they feel like they're up against that anxiety really intensely, what would you recommend they do?
Well, just as far as getting out of the panic initially, I always recommend a person to get very body focused and get grounded in their physical experience. When we get anxiety, we shorten our breath. We actually do a lot more inhaling than we do exhaling. We lose connection to our self, our body, and our mind takes us either into the future or into, an unknown kind of territory, which creates more overwhelm in the body system. So one of the best things to do just to get out of the panic is to move, take a deep breath, stand up. I do kind of a swooshing movement, with your arms, move the breath all the way through your body, grunt, yell, scream, stomp on the ground, what have you. And it's a way to, reclaim kind of and re-enter your body as opposed to letting the mind and this anxious, fear take you outside of your body. But I think, yeah, there's no reason to push through anything except for just to allow. So after we can move out of that panic space where we feel like we're going to die, then we can just be. And, like I said, the emotion that's underneath the anxiety, there's always an unresolved emotion underneath that. And we're the ones responsible for that. That's not our moms. It's not our spouse. It's not our kids. It's not anybody else's experience. It's our responsibility. So as we are able to sit with the anxiety and recognize that I'm having anxiety, and then see if we can let the emotion come forward. It can feel very scary, but it's also very empowering once you can start practicing this, and and then allow the emotion to be present. And that emotion will generally speak to us. It'll tell us what we need and kind of what to do next, whether it's cry or yell or go get alone time or take some deep breaths or nurture ourselves or whatever's going on. But I think the first step is really to empower your physical self to get balanced. The second that we lose balance of that, it's very, very hard to, to reclaim any kind of sense of self or safety in the moment. But, people do, I guess, try to just, well, that's why I think they take a lot of drugs too, is just to kind of put up with the anxiety or just get through it. And sometimes we have to, like if you're having an anxiety attack right before you go into a meeting or get on an airplane or, whatever is going on. But outside of those specific times, whenever the anxiety starts to rise up, that's when we can start doing our work. Sit in meditation, slow our breath, get into our body, and that kind of thing.
I hear that a lot in kind of mindfulness circles or therapeutic environments, talking about getting in touch with our body, the sensations. I've heard from you one technique that I really love, which is just kind of slowing down the breath and really paying attention to the in-breath and the out-breath. Do you have any other suggestions, or would you say that that's kind of like the best one and the one that you should really focus on?
No, I think there's tons of suggestions, like a mantra. I use the simple one. Actually, it's in one of my guided meditations. It's online on my root chakra meditation is I am here. And just, getting, using the breath, using your senses, and using the mantra, I am here. And when we stop and we can really become here, and we pull our energies back from all the places that they go, what if the plane crashes, or what if she calls and breaks up, or what if I don't have enough money and I'm not okay and I'm feeling rejected, or whatever. The truth is that we're here. We're not there. And so we can use our sense of smell. We can use that mantra, I am here. We can pinch ourselves. We can use our hands and touch something. We can find something to focus on with our eyes and connect back into the reality of who we are and where we are. And it's very simple, but it's also very profound, because most people are functioning in the world in a lot of other realms, energetically, mentally, and emotionally, other than the realm that is right now. And so that idea of presence and mindfulness and, being in the now and all that, it's more than just a route to enlightenment. It's really a practice of self-preservation and healing, for us in our experience. So I think, any of that stuff is really good. Even like tasting, everybody, like you could just stop right now and notice what you taste in your mouth. Notice your tongue. Is it bitter? Is it sweet? Are you dry? Feel your teeth. There's all kinds of just really, simple ways we can use our senses to get into our body and get into this present moment.
We've been here with Leah Guy talking about stress, fear, anxiety, how it plays a role in our lives and how we can overcome it. I just encourage you to take one thing from today, something that spoke to you about how you can start to manage or work with or listen to your own fear and anxiety more, and keep thriving, everyone. You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.